Greetings and salutations, this is Emperor Vespasian himself and his trusty sidekick.
Please the message.
After the beep. We are having a look at the most awesome T35 land battleship, as Churchill would have called it. Churchill was in charge of the Landship Committee, and he came up with, the Landship Committee, which was part of the Navy Department, designed the original tanks, and so they were called land ships because it was designed by the Navy, and the Navy thought of them as ships with wheels that went on land. So land ship, same. And the T35 is an extension of British thinking, and it wasn't the best bit of British thinking the British had ever done, but anyway, the Russians thought it was a good idea and they copied it. So here you have the T35, one of the biggest tanks ever built. It was absolutely enormous. Do I have a Russian soldier handy to show you the scale? You may have seen this in battle already because we have done a few games with them, and they are quite fun to use. That's a soldier next to it. Little soldier there. Tiny little soldier. Yeah, these things are absolutely enormous. I've seen one in a museum, which was a foreign museum, and I couldn't read what it said on the plate, so I didn't know what it was, but I now know what it was. So it wasn't
Waterloo Collection?
No, it wasn't the Waterloo Collection, no. So anyway, the T35 was a heavy tank. Legally, technically, it's a heavy tank. It was called a heavy tank, it was a land battleship. I would call it an enormous tank. It weighed in more or less the same as the armour-wise, it weighed in more or less the same as the KV tanks, although the KV tanks had better armour, but for weight of armour, they had about the same weightage of armour on them, although the KV were actually heavy tanks. These weren't really heavy tanks. The armour wasn't actually as good because it had to be made thinner to stretch it all around the vehicle because it was so heavy. Originally it did have more armour, but that version of tank didn't actually move. They just turned the engine on and it just sat there because it was so heavy. So, yeah.
Wait a minute, if it was in a field, would it just sink?
I think you have to keep moving, otherwise you start sinking into the ground. Yeah.
Well, what happens if it breaks down in another field? A wet field.
Same as a Tiger tank. If a Tiger tank broke down, the only way to recover it was with a Tiger tank. So all Tiger tanks had chains on the back, and the chains were to attach to another Tiger tank and drag it away. That's basically how they had to do it. There was actually a vehicle that could carry the Tiger tank, but the Germans only had about 4 of them, so they weren't much use. And besides, they're dangerous, you might get shot at in them if they don't have a turret. So generally Tigers would be their own recovery vehicle. A Tiger would rescue a Tiger from a ditch or whatever.
How are you ever going to pull one of them out?
Well, with these guys, they used to tie two T28s together.
No, let me just simulate right now.
Yeah.
Right, so the field's soaking wet.
Yeah.
It just breaks down.
Yeah. In
5 seconds, it's going completely under.
No, it takes a bit longer to sink. It's a big footprint, but they would tie 2 T28s together with chains and then drag one of these out of the ditch or wherever it's doing. But for the most part, especially in the winter war, they just leave them there just because they're so big. Just leave it, collect it later sometime. And there are still bits of them on the battlefield today, so they were rather big. Although it is a heavily armoured tank, it only classes as an armour of 9, which means it's only got the armour of a medium tank instead of a heavy tank. That's because it was a little bit ramshackle and weak. Wasn't the bestest of tanks. You can, I believe in the bolt action rule book, use it technically as a light tank, armour wise. That's a little bit short-sighted considering the actual thickness of the armour, but it's open to interpretation. We class it as a 9+ tank, basically a medium tank, because the crew compartments had the same armour as the T28. The T28's crew compartments were medium tank, whereas the KV was a heavy tank. that was pretty much heavy all around. He had 80mm armour on the side, 100mm armour on the front. So it was the same armour as the as a Tiger tank, as a Tiger 1. So a very heavily armoured tank for the time of war that he was fighting. And considering the vehicles that this tank was designed to come up against, it wasn't designed to come up against vehicles at all actually, but the tanks that it was going to come up against are going to be versions of the T36 used by Finland, the early Japanese tanks, which are laughable, and the German early war tanks, which are just as much a joke as the Japanese tanks. But then again, so are the British tanks and all the other tanks are all pretty naff. But yeah.
So pretty even war.
Yeah, pretty even. Yeah, we all have rubbish tanks. We haven't learnt yet. Tanks were a new thing to us still. Now these tanks were designed to be used in conjunction with the T26. I've done a video on the T26 earlier. T28, sorry.
And we've also gone through this in the other video.
Yeah, so
these people haven't seen this.
Yeah, for the people who haven't seen the other video, I'm not going to rehash it, just go and watch that video. So it will operate in a unit like that with 2 T28 tanks to every 1 T35. So if you want to buy a T35, you need to buy 2 T28s in order to be historically accurate. But who cares? You're buying the figures for a game. Who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
It's not that important.
Unless doing a YouTube video, people criticise you.
Yeah, people do criticise YouTube videos because they say, right, getting in focus. Sorry, I'm not using the new camera on this. I'm using the our original camera on this because I'm just down to deal with it. And so I just leave him there because he's really small, and it really does show you how unbelievably huge the tank was. And this tank's built to scale, so yeah. I did actually slightly shorten it because I thought the actual model, some tank vehicles and stuff don't scale very well.
Well, to my eyes, it looks like you might have not shortened it and make it a little bit taller.
No, I took 2 centimetres off to what it should be. Because
What?
yeah, bear in mind there were several versions of the same tank. A lot of tanks, especially in Finland, there's lots of pictures of a tank in Finland with the rounded turret, and they keep saying that's the T35. It wasn't. That was an experimental tank, and that particular tank was an experimental tank, and they only made one of them. So they were slightly different versions as they came off the production line. They were made slightly different, and some of them had an extra set of tracks. An extra set of wheels, 2 extra wheels, which is the length. So I just took that off because I thought this looked better. Use-wise, in reality, they were more propaganda tank. They were more for going on the front page of Pravda or for driving past Red Square in a big parade for the film cameras for moviegoers the world over who could watch the news.
It breaks down.
Yeah, who could watch the newsreels of all these massive Russian tanks driving along Red Square in order to terrify the world into converting to communism. Basically, convert all these guys are going to drive through your town. That was the idea.
Or try to without breaking down.
Yeah, but you don't tell your enemy that your vehicles don't work, do you? I mean, we didn't invade Iraq.
Well, it would be hilarious if the parade and they all broke down in the very beginning.
Yeah, we didn't invade Iraq and announce that we only had 4 high explosive rounds per Abrams, did we? Yeah, I know. You don't advertise those facts, you see. You just drive in and you say, we're winning. It doesn't matter that your tank's firing and not actually killing anything. It's just firing, it's a big bang.
But seeing it fire makes you think you've achieved something,
yeah,
accomplished something.
So on the news you see all these guns going off, going bang, 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 and you think, oh wow, look, we're really hammering them. No, you're not. You're firing anti-tank rounds into the air, you're not doing anything. But it's scary, and
it's not like a mortar where you fire in the air, you just come back down and directly on the enemy.
Well, a sabot round isn't going to do anything to an infantry squad or troops in a bunker or anything. It's just going to, if you're lucky, it might hit one man like a sniper rifle. But other than that, it's not going to do anything.
That must be a really bad sniper rifle.
Well, it's an anti-tank round. An anti-tank round fired into a group of soldiers is going to kill at best one man. At best.
What's a his leg?
it would take his leg off. I mean, I'm not saying this is a weak-powered weapon. This is an extremely powerful gun, but you need a high explosive round with shrapnel.
Well, I think it's from here.
The shockwave could probably do you some damage.
Aye.
Yeah, that would kill you. That would pretty much kill you. I very much doubt you're going to present to a field medic station and say, Sir, someone just fired an anti-tank round into my eye. Can you fix it?
Deadpool bitch.
Yeah, but it won't bother Deadpool, would it? Nothing bothers Deadpool. Right. So, in reality, as I said, these guys were for propaganda purposes. They look really cool, which is why I've got some, because they look cool. And our games are going to look really fun with these huge Russian dinosaurs.
The only downside for him is that I'm playing them.
Yeah, that's down to you're now playing the Russian army, so it's your problem now, not mine. Anyway, I'll run through the armaments. The armaments, it's got a 76mm howitzer, which can also fire smoke. Remember that, please remember that in games of bolt action. Fire smoke, you know, in real war, smoke is really important. No one ever lays down smoke.
Smoke or big explosion? Which one would you pick?
It depends what you're wanting to cover. Use smoke. Smoke's brilliant. You can actually block your enemy's line of sight with smoke. You know, they can't shoot at you if you put smoke down. They can't see you.
Well, in the Napoleonic Wars, when the French fired at the British and tried to make a small wall.
Yeah, well, smoke was used throughout the Napoleonic Wars. That's what voltigeurs are for. And riflemen.
Yeah, it failed all the time though.
No,
British used it.
No, it didn't. It was a very effective thing. The voltigeurs or your light infantry would run out in front of your regiment. They would fire their muskets, creating a smoke screen.
And then run off.
That's what voltigeurs are for, in reality. But
they got bees, stop, bang, right, going on now, see ya.
Yeah, because they're not going to be fired at by the infantry regiment, because it would be a waste of bullets trying to pop off at some individual guys just firing the rifle in the air.
We're going to leave in about 3 seconds.
Yeah, so it's not going to be a thing. Because of things like Sharp, people believe that voltigeurs were elite special forces sniper teams. I very much doubt anyone ever got shot by a voltigeur, other than in actual battle. When the voltigeurs joined part of the regiment, the voltigeurs would run off and join the left-hand side.
You like Sharp, don't you?
I like Sharp. It's a brilliant series, but it's just fiction. It's just complete fiction. It's not true. The amount of people, if you don't know, we run a painting server, paint model stuff for people.
In case you're new to this channel.
And the amount of people who order certain regiments and they get them and they say they're not the same as they were in Sharp. Yeah, we know.
Someone wants you to paint them green.
Yeah, I think there were only 2 regiments of the British Army that had rifles in green jackets, and there were only 1 company. There's 6 companies in the British regiment, and only 1 company had rifles, and there were only 2 regiments in the entire British Army that had green jackets. And for part of the war, they swapped to red anyway, so it's academic. The guys at Waterloo, interestingly enough, were Hanoverian. The guys in green jackets at Waterloo fighting in... come on, your favourite battle, Alex.
My favourite battle? Why do you want to ask me?
You tell us.
Why do you want to ask
me? Who were the guys in the high sand?
You see, I don't know.
Come on, you know this. This is your favourite battle of all time. Who was led by? It was a bumble. I'll give you a clue. It was a bumble.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I probably got shot back by a soldier.
He got shot by his own men.
It's my guess. I don't really know.
Complete.
It could be true. Don't get me wrong.
Well, he was shot, and he was
attempted murder.
It was supposedly actually his own men that shot him.
In the TV series, apparently Sharp shot him in the back.
Yeah, in the film, in the Sharp film, the guy gets killed, doesn't he? Shouldn't Sharp kill him, or someone kills? He didn't die. Prince of Orange survived, but he was wounded.
Yes, the Prince of Orange. Yes.
Yes, the Prince of Orange. Yeah, but the guys at the sandpit, the guys around there, they were mostly Hanoverians. They were all Hanoverians. The green jackets were Hanoverians. They were Germans. They weren't British. But in the film, it has all British soldiers. But most of the soldiers were actually Hanoverians there.
Can't have forgotten that.
Well, saying that other than the guards in Ugamont, other than the guards, most of the troops there were Hanoverian. They were King's German Legion. So they would have been shouting in German to each other rather than English in all the documentaries. In the documentaries you have all these people shouting, "Oi mate, there's some French coming!"
Well, how would you watch documentary what's meant to be made in England when you can't even hear it? You can't even understand it because they're speaking German.
Yeah, that's what subtitles are for.
Who reads anymore? They have audiobooks. Ever heard of audible.com?
That's very true, actually. I have to meet halfway on that. Yeah. So, yeah, audiobooks are awesome. And I do like Audible.
I can tell you, listen to one.
I listen to Audible all the time, so I think it's brilliant. And, yeah.
Take on record. Wait, Ms. Freeze's passing
I'm just nearly finished the chapter, do you mind? The evil space Martians are about to get into the city, and there's about...
1 hour later.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll skip to...
I find audiobooks more interesting than films. Because I haven't actually, other than Deadpool and Star Wars, I haven't enjoyed any film in the last 5 years. About 5 years? Seriously? I just don't like films. I don't like films. I just find them unbelievably stupid. I mean, I enjoy watching them, don't get me wrong. I love the Fast and the Furious stuff, although my wife's more into that.
Oh,
I love those films, they're fun.
You know why?
But, yeah, we know why she likes it. But I like the Fast and the Furious films and all that sort of stuff. I love all those films, they're all cool. But it's just, I think they're stupid. I think they're just there for fun. They're not. There's no content to it. You're not more intelligent when you leave the cinema. You're not more intelligent. You haven't learnt anything. You haven't really experienced anything. You've just seen flashy, shiny things moving really fast, and that's it. And wow,
Michael Bay.
Explosions!
Explosions!
Yeah. Whereas I'd like to watch the occasional film where you actually learn something. And I'm not talking about you walk into a cinema and a guy sits in front of you with on a table with a book and says, "Right, I'm going to teach you something about it." No, I don't mean that. I mean you've
That'll be you. That'll be you on the desk reading the book.
Just like you watch a film and you actually experience something from it. My favourite YouTubers are YouTubers who actually say stuff that I haven't thought. You know, that's when a YouTuber I really like is a YouTuber who says something out of the box that I haven't personally thought of. And I like being told things I haven't thought of, or to think a way I haven't thought of.
Mine don't.
Yeah, no, yours don't, because you watch idiots.
How dare you?
You do.
They're idiots.
You do, they're idiots.
They're pretty much idiots.
They just play games online and go, "Ah!" constantly.
I do not watch them anymore. I am telling you, I do not watch them anymore.
Yeah.
I watch someone else.
You see, my games, my people I watch on YouTube are people who say intelligent, clever things. Or at least enable you to think about
Why are
something.
you YouTuber then?
What?
Oh!
Sorry.
Way off track.
And talking about thinking outside the box, back to the T35. A lot of vehicles produced by Russia and Germany weren't really everything they said on the tin. So in reality, these things were just for propaganda purposes. They were used in combat, not very often. Usually they would break down on their way to combat. They weren't very reliable. But you can use them in your games and they do look cool. And since I made these models, there is a company that started selling these. I think it's foreign. It has a foreign name. But if you type it into Google, you might be able to find it. But anyway,
I haven't told what it is.
I can't remember what it's called. It's T35. Just type in T35 model. Yeah. So anywho, the T35 has the 76mm howitzer. The T35 has 2 anti-tank guns mounted on it. This is the most interesting part ever. This is the layout of the tank. It has an anti-tank gun at the front, which has a field of fire like that, an anti-tank gun at the back, which has a field of fire on that side, and then the howitzer can be moved anywhere. Now, there's a machine gun fitted to the turret there, and there's a machine gun fitted to the turret there. The turret on the roof has a machine gun, which means technically you could fire at least 4 machine guns in any direction. It also has a machine gun in the front hull, which is quite useful as well, because you can fire anytime you want, just like that machine gun. And that machine gun, unfortunately, these machine guns are limited. You can't fire a howitzer if you're going to fire that machine gun, because the same guy who mans that gun is the same guy who mans the machine gun, and looks through that little vision slit there and often fires a pistol out of it if there's Japanese crawling over your tank, which has happened to us before in the past. Very annoying, those Japanese. So it is a large target. The downside to a large target is it's very easy. It's a lot easier to hit, which is a kind of a downside. But given that it is an Armour 9+, that's not too bad. That's actually quite good. So even though it's easier for an enemy to hit the tank, it's more likely the tank will survive. And bear in mind, you are not, if you're using this tank, you are not going to come up against any anti-tank guns which are bigger than the light anti-tank gun. So the best anti-tank gun in the world, other than the German 88.
I don't know how I did that.
Other than the German 88mm anti-tank gun, there aren't any other anti-tank guns out there at this time in the war when this tank was being used that will give you more than a +4. So it's good armour, whichever way you look at it.
And I don't think an anti-tank rifle will be able to penetrate that.
It can't.
Exactly.
Even in the flank. In the flank, it will. I'm trying to think. In flank armour would be 8. Even with a +4, you're going to need a 5 or 6 with an anti-tank gun, which means you can't do it with an anti-tank rifle. So you can't actually kill it with an anti-tank rifle at all. It won't even scratch it. So that's going to be unfortunate for you. So my Polish are going to be in trouble. I'm going to get onto Warlord and order some anti-tank guns.
No. To be fair.
No
cavalry.
I need anti-tank guns now.
No.
Yes.
No.
Anti-tank guns.
No.
Anyhow, I mentioned the machine guns. I like machine gun heavy tanks. I keep mentioning this. What a tank should be used for in bolt action, if the enemy hasn't got other tanks on the battlefield, what a tank should be used for is as infantry support, which means ignore your howitzer, use machine guns. Use massive amounts of machine guns. A howitzer can, if you're lucky, hit and do d6 damage, right? And it is a howitzer, so, you know...
If you're 666, you can kill it.
Oh yeah, you can kill tanks even with a howitzer, that's true, that's very true. But a machine gun fires 4 shots. That gives you 3 machine guns forwards. That's 3 machine guns, that's 12 dice you're shooting forwards. It's not as many as the T28. The T28 has 16 dice to fire forwards. This tank has 12 dice to fire forwards. That's 12 dice you're firing. That's 12 shots. That's pretty good. That is pretty good. And at long range, you can use a howitzer to worry the enemy and take out field guns or enemy units, whatever. So I do like that. It is useful. Then you have the anti-tank gun. The anti-tank guns can fire HE. So you've got your 2D for your anti-tank gun as well. You can add to it. But you can also take out enemy tanks. And technically you can take out 2 enemy tanks, which is even more awesome. But that's just my opinion. I mean, you may have different opinions. So I assume your tactics for this are the same as your tactics for the T28.
Yeah, I was actually thinking that from my head as you were saying that, yes. Yes, it is.
Yeah. Any questions?
No.
No? Well, that's it then. Oh, that's boring, isn't it? That's the card for it there. That's a little card.
We have a card for everything.
We have a card for everything. Simply because it's easier to use. You never have to refer to the rule book. You just get the card out and it has all the rules on it.
If you go back to our old videos, you will notice that the video stops and it's back on again.
Yeah.
Mainly because of this.
Yeah, you guys say, which page is the tank on? T26, which page is T26? I can't find it. Yeah,
we're not professional enough.
Yeah, instead we have the cards, so we just instantly go, that's the T35. Oh, that's its gun. And it's all written down for you and everything. And also helps people who don't play. So
I've had it for such a long time because there's so many Russian cards. We're doing so many.
Yeah, we decided to do a video on each card.
Hence, there's been no Battle Boss.
Well, it's not just that. We haven't really had time to actually play a actual battle and stuff and set it up because we've got all this other stuff going on. These videos are easy to make because we can just sit down and just talk, which is much easier. Yeah. So that is the end of our video. So thank you very much for taking the time to sit here for so long and listen to us talk about films.
Attack Time is cool.
Is this the same video as we were talking about 39th Battalion?
Nope.
No, didn't think it was.
This is why I messed it up so I can ruin your mind.
So we will move along.
No, Attack Time.
Yeah, this is the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching. And over to my trusty sidekick.
You were about to take my line.
And I was not. I was just saying. Over to my trusty sidekick.
Look, you run the intro, I run the outro.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said over to my trusty sidekick.
Well, it's finished now.
Yes.
So if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and comment down below what you think of these T35s, and if you still think my tactic is better than his.
Alright, that's fine. We'll leave it to that then.
Yeah.
Trust me, they are.
Also, Deadpool's an awesome movie. You can mention that one.
Yeah, Deadpool's awesome. I have issues with Saving Private Ryan and every other film made about the Second World War, but we'll move on to that later. Thank you very much for watching. It's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from him.
Good day.